Alright folks, this is Sultan and today's video is very important because India has just passed a law in which religious persecuted non-Muslim minorities from Afghanistan, Pakistan and Bangladesh can relocate to India and they can become citizens of India within 5 years. The previous citizenship law of India meant that once you enter India, you have to wait for 11 years. There is a bit of confusion in this law. For example, this law is only applicable to people who entered India until the 31st of December 2014. Now, why pass the law now? Because it would have been 11 years for them next year anyway, and they would have been eligible for Indian citizenship anyway. So what's the point of this law? I tried my best to understand it and read as much as I could, but I couldn't make any sense out of it. So if you know it, you can clarify my confusion in the comment section below. Now, I'll tell you a little bit about the history of this law. As you guys know, India is governed by the BJP party, which is often accused of being a Hindu supremacist party, but that is not the full picture. This act was first tabled back in 2019, and back then, I strongly opposed it because I was living in La La Land and I thought that no, we should never let go of our lofty ideals, and since India is a secular liberal democracy, therefore it must not discriminate on the basis of religion. So how come India can take every non-Muslim persecuted minority but not Muslims, especially when we have Shias and Ahmadis regularly persecuted in Pakistan, Hazaras in Afghanistan, along with all other non-Muslim minorities? So on the face of it, yes, this law is discriminatory, but then in practicality, what can you do? I have said that in the past that the Western world would need to look to India when it comes to sorting out this mess of Islamism. The Western world and India are not authoritarian regimes. They cannot strong arm Islamism into submission by being overtly violent towards them, as we see that in China and as we see in other authoritarian regimes. The Western world and India are secular and liberal in nature, therefore they cannot violently suppress this rise of Islamism in their own countries. So they have to come up with new ways to tackle this threat. In authoritarian regimes like China and maybe even Russia, they can do anything against them pretty much. And as we know what China is doing to Uyghur Muslims, we cannot condone that. The West and India can't adopt the same methods, but that doesn't make the threat of Islamism go away. So how do we tackle that? So I'm going to tell you why I did not support this law back in 2019 and why I support it, albeit I do have some criticism of this law, and also how the West can actually learn from India, and also whether the criticism of this law by wokies and far leftists and Muslims is fair or unfair. So before we go any further, please like, share and subscribe to this channel. If you would like me to continue making awesome videos like these, you can be my patron by going to patreon.com/Sultan, or you can buy me a coffee on the link below. So let's get to today's video. Now let's talk about the obvious criticism. The leftists and Muslims are saying that since India is a secular liberal democracy, but at the same time they say India is Islamophobic and not safe for Muslims, they're saying that India should not discriminate and India should extend the courtesy to other Muslim minorities that are persecuted in Afghanistan, Bangladesh and Pakistan. Now that's a self-contradictory position. As far as Muslims are concerned, they should be focusing on telling their own countries, i.e. Pakistan, Afghanistan and Bangladesh, to raise the standard of human rights and stop persecuting Ahmadis, Shias and Hazaras. We know that they're not going to talk about the persecution of Christians, Zoroastrians, Sikhs, Buddhists, Jains in these countries, as they have been heavily persecuted since these countries came into existence. So as far as Muslims are concerned, that's just a hypocritical position, so we can throw away their criticism. It just doesn't matter. We don't have to pay any attention to them. Now let's talk about the leftists, both of India and of the Western world. We know these bleeding heart, self-righteous, virtue signaling, leftist, pro-human rights people are not pro-human rights, because When the shoe is on the other foot, they look the other way. They make excuses. The biggest example is October 7 terrorist attacks on Israel. They stayed awfully quiet and did not condemn Hamas for carrying out one of the worst terrorist attacks in recent memory. But when Israel retaliated, they came out in huge numbers in every major Western city, condemning Israel for defending itself. And herein lies my explanation that why I did not support this law back in 2019, because I was also living in my la la land. The October 7th terrorist attacks opened my eyes like never before. Now I have no doubt in my mind that whether you're a lipstick Muslim, a moderate Muslim, a liberal Muslim, or a radical Muslim, no matter what denomination of Islam you belong to, you are a Muslim first, and you have no respect for Western values or even Indian values. Now, I have said this many times that the modern state of India is much closer to Western values than it is to any other culture that we have at the moment. Japan is another example. The Japanese people have their own strong local centuries-old customs and values, but they do not clash with Western secular liberal values. The post-October 7 world is the biggest example of that. We have seen these people show no respect to Western values. They are Muslims first, and to them, it's Muslim interests first. That's it. Now, this is a problem that's been highlighted by some Indians. And just like Israel, and just like some voices in the Western world, there is a growing voice in India that they must preserve their culture and their set of values. Otherwise, it would be cannibalized by this very aggressive set of values called Islamism. Now, I am not saying that all Muslims are the same. I understand that there are a lot of good Muslims who are willing to get out of these barbaric, primitive, medieval countries. And to me, the only solution for that is there should be a strong vetting process. And India has not excluded that option either. As I said, Muslims can still go to India, but they would have to wait for 11 years as opposed to 5 years, which is a courtesy exclusively been extended to Christians, Zoroastrians, Buddhists, Jains, Hindus, and Sikhs, and every other non-Muslim minority. Because we know for a fact that not only non-Muslim minorities are not safe in these Muslim countries, but even Muslim minorities are not safe in these countries. So these leftists who are accusing India of being racist or being discriminatory, well, you should be applying the same amount of pressure, if not more, on these countries to raise their human rights standards. So on the face of it, yes, I agree. It does seem discriminatory, but we have no other solution. And this is why I would want the Western countries to look at India closely and try to learn something when it comes to tackling this threat of Islamism. Now, it's ironic that Pakistanis, Afghanis, and Bangladeshis are also criticizing this new citizenship law. Shouldn't you be saying that why is India doing that? Because non-Muslim minorities are not unsafe in our country? These countries also say that Muslims are not safe in India. Well, how about you pass a similar law and extend the courtesy to Indian Muslims that if you feel unsafe in India, you are welcome to come to Bangladesh, Pakistan, and Afghanistan. But let me tell you, no Muslim, unless he's a criminal in India, is going to come to Pakistan. Ask any Ahmadi or Shia in India. Ask them if they would want to go to Pakistan. I can tell you, 99.99% of those people would say, nope, we're not going to Pakistan. Not only because Pakistan has a very poor human rights record, I wouldn't even mention Afghanistan, but also because, unfortunately, it is fast becoming a failed state. Even Muslims in Pakistan are saying that the partition should not have taken place back in 1947 because Indian Muslims have a better quality of life than Pakistani Muslims. So, in my opinion, this is a good law. It's a slap in the face of these three countries that do not treat their non-Muslim minorities as human beings. And consequently, I would hope that Pakistan especially would be forced to raise their human rights standards. But I don't think that's going to happen. Pakistan is going further towards radical Islamism. I'm not expecting any good news coming out of Pakistan anytime soon. Okay, now let me give you my opinion on this. I think this is a good law. However, this law does not include ex-Muslims. Ex-Muslims of Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Bangladesh are in more danger than other non-Muslim minorities in these countries. I have said this before, that no ex-Muslim wants to do jihad. When you become an ex-Muslim and you let go of barbaric, primitive Islamic values, you tend to not have any problems with Western values or even Indian values. Ex-Muslims are not a cultural or a societal threat to their new adopted countries. Muslims, on the other hand, however not all, tend not to assimilate, not to integrate, and as we have seen post-October 7, they tend to gel together and they only put their interests first. They're not British first, they're not American first, they're not Australian first, they're not Indian first, even if they're born and raised in India or in their adopted countries. They are Muslims first. They openly, proudly and boastfully say that. They believe it is the biggest strength of Islam that Muslims tend to prefer Muslims first. Now that is okay if you want to believe in that, but unfortunately this kind of mentality is not compatible with any other culture on earth at this point in time. So I'm seeing it as good news. I think it's a good slap in the face of Islamists and radical Muslims and also the far left wokies, and it is good news for Zoroastrians, Christians, Jains, Sikhs, Hindus who are regularly persecuted in these countries. According to Pakistan's own study, nearly 1,000 Hindu girls are kidnapped every year in Pakistan and forcefully converted to Islam. I have covered countless such stories, but the Pakistani government is too afraid to even acknowledge that the problem exists. So it's good news for all those non-Muslim minorities living in these hellish countries. India did not make this law for only Hindus living in these countries. India extended it to all non-Muslim minorities. Unfortunately, Muslim countries are at the forefront of persecuting non-Muslim minorities. These people say Muslims are not safe in India, although you could see some isolated cases which might give you that impression, but holistically, that is not a problem in India. I don't believe so. I used to believe in that, but I don't believe that anymore. Another key point I wanted to make is that before this debate started, I have actually always myself believed that the citizenship waiting period should be extended from 5 years to 10 years. 5 years is the minimum period that you have to spend in Australia before you become a citizen, but I believe it's quite similar in America and other Western countries as well. The reason is when people come from other cultures that may not be compatible with your new adopted country, and if you fail to integrate and assimilate, then you are likely to commit some sort of an offense in those 10 years, in which case you can be charged and then eventually you can be deported to your home country. So the citizenship waiting period should be extended to 10 years in Western countries. Citizenship of these Western countries is a privilege. It's not your right. So if you want to come to Western countries or go to India, then you have to earn it. You can't simultaneously hold these barbaric primitive values and also hold these wonderful passports, because we have already seen the effects of it. So I hope you liked today's video. I hope that I did justice in explaining the crux of this law at least. If you have any questions or if I got something wrong, then please do let me know in the comment section. And if you would like to support my channel, and if you would like me to keep making awesome videos like these, then you can be my patron by going to patreon.com/Sultan, or you can simply buy me a coffee. Until next time, ta-da. If you'd like to support my work, you can become my patron by going to patreon.com/Sultan, or you can simply buy me a coffee.